Welcome everyone to another video of Views from the Stands. Your host is here, Gunna, and you're seeing my face. Probably been a minute, and we're going to be talking about MLB Division predictions. Technically, the season started this morning uh, due to the Dodgers and Padres having a two-game series in Korea, but then the true domestic opening day will be on the 28th, where pretty much the remaining of the teams and clubs will be playing. So exciting stuff. We're right around the corner, which is great. As I love this time of year. So let's get into it with the American League first. And guys, we're going to talk about the AL East first in particular, guys. And the background might probably tell you who I'm thinking, who gets first place. But this is what I like in the order. We're gonna kind of break it down by team. So number one is Orioles, right? They won last year, so that's obviously for starters. They are very very young and um, have some have some depth in terms of the starters now, right? They've always had a good underrated starter rotation. You add Corbin Burns, who's obviously a stud in his own right, and then you continue to build up these young guys. It's exciting to see. What's even crazier is Cole Irvin, lefty. He is 30 years old. He's the oldest pitcher on that roster. Even Corbin Burns is still not the oldest person on the starting rotation. Brought some veteran pieces on the bullpen. You still got CNL Perez, you got Yenner Cano, you got Batista. I believe Batista is going to be banged up to start the season. Tommy John, so he's actually out for the entire year, and that's why obviously they brought in Craig Kimbrell. So Craig Kimbrell hasn't been the best in past years, but I think he still brings that veteran presence. And I think you're going to see a level up from Cano in terms of the bullpen. And then lastly, the roster. I mean, just the lineup. I mean, it's a pretty nasty lineup. I mean, you got Mullins, Rutsch, Gunner. Most likely going to have Jackson Holiday in this lineup. Ryan Mountcastle. So with the experience that they've already had, the top farm system in America, you're building up these guys. So I mean, I just feel like they are primed right now, and how they are currently throughout spring training is that they're looking like it's going to be the best team out there for the AL East. But coming in second place, as you can see, is the Yankees. I do think they are an improved team. You add a Juan Soto, you make some other moves. You're trying to, probably get another pitcher or two. You probably could have pulled the trigger, in my opinion, especially since Garrett Cole is now hurt with the elbow discomfort right now. So I mean, that starting rotation is not the best, but you got some guys, right? You got Nestor, you got Carlos, you got Marcus, Clark. Those top four are pretty steady to a degree of a pitcher. I would say Marcus is probably more consistent, but obviously I'd say Carlos has the most effective, I guess, pitches. He's got some nasty stuff, and he can obviously um, dominate to another level. I think to these other players. So they're obviously gonna have to pick up the load. You got Clay Holmes in the pen. A couple lefties here, some righties here. They're obviously going to throw pretty hard. So, um, they're going to compete in this division, and I think really their only trouble, I think, obviously the Orioles, right? Because they're projected to be behind them, but Blue Jays. The two and the three spot, in my opinion, is really going to be close, and it was hard. I just had to give the edge to the Yankees. Honestly, they did more than the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays didn't really do much from an off-season standpoint, but um, I mean, they were obviously banged up from last year. So if you a little bit more healthier on that lineup, you're going to do some damage. It's pretty crazy to see Soto, Judge, Rizzo, Giancarlo. You got Alex Verdugo. So um, definitely improving the lefty bats with their short, porch at right field. So next team is obviously the Blue Jays, right? And like I mentioned just recently, they're right there in my opinion to getting that two spot. But obviously they made some people let go, right? So they do resign Kevin Kiermaier, but they let Chapman go, they let Merrifield go, Hicks go, Jay Jackson go, and Adam Simber. Um, not you add Joey Votto to a minor league contract, so we'll see if he can get boosted up to a major league team. But you pretty much have the same team. You do add a Justin Turner veteran presence, which will be good for that locker room. But you definitely need a George Springer, a Bo Bichette, a Vladdy to step up. Even Alejandro Kirk and Kevin Biggio in that rotation. I mean, right now we're not even thinking about Alec Manoa in that rotation right now. I mean, he could be the fifth place person, but he's got some soreness right now, so we'll see how serious that is. You could they put Nate Pearson in the bullpen, which I think is a good move. I think they have a very underrated bullpen. Maybe the closer is their weak spot, but I mean they got Pearson, they got Cabrera, they got a Tim Miza, Trevor Richards, Zach Pop, Micah White. I mean they got Yimi Garcia. They got some guys that can throw some nice nasty stuff. So I think maybe that's something they look into the season again if they're looking for the if they're contending. Um, so that's how I feel about the Blue Jays, and then the Rays. I just think they're going to take a step down to a degree to what we've seen these last few years. I mean, first off, you lose a rookie of the year, right? In Franco. So I mean, the shortstop. I can't even think of his name for some reason. You still got it's still the Rays, right? So they're obviously going to use their analytics to help them and get some of these guys to produce better than probably what they would. They still got a Randy Ozarena though. They still got a Brandon Lau. Still got a Yandy Diaz. So got some other guys, right? Jose Siri, Isaac Paredes. So I mean, their roster's a bunch of grinders, I'd say. Only concern right now is that rotation. Excuse me. Got Aaron Savali, so that's probably your lead guy. You're gonna start Ryan Peppett, Zach Eflin. So these guys are definitely going to be able to attack and do some things with how the analytics. It just kind of goes back to the analytics. The Rays is a very analytical team. They don't have a big payroll, so they kind of have to work with what they got. So I just don't see enough firepower with the rest of these first three teams, the Blue Jays and Yankees and the Orioles, to say, hey, this team's going to be ahead of them. And lastly, unfortunately, in the AL East, as you can see, I mean, it's going to be the Boston Red Sox. They for starters, they bring one guy back from all their free agents, right? A Duvall leaves, a Turner leaves, a Paxton leaves. So those are guys, right? You don't make any signings in the off season. You're pretty much just letting your farm system come up, right? You're starting a bellow, which I think is going to have some nasty stuff. Bullpen's seasoned, but definitely getting towards the older side. And then what can we expect right now with the offense, right? Are we gonna see a healthy story? Are we gonna see the first half of Yoshida, right? The second half probably wasn't the best. Uh, I do like Tristan Cassis. I do like the Tyler O'Neill trade. It was a trade, so they could definitely create some stuff. Looks like a Connor Wong is finally going to catch for them, right? He's moving up. They got him and Reese, so they got a CJ Crone. So I like to see him probably in the DH spot. We'll see, right? Definitely he can create some some stuff for them. So I like that. Um, it's just I think it's just gonna come down to their bullpen and their starters, and it's just they don't have enough firepower, man. To compete with the rest of these even four people, man. I think the 4 and 5 is gonna be pretty close, not as close than the 2 and 3, but I would not be surprised if the Rays are the fifth team at the end of the year. But this is just how I feel right now as we go into our opening day next week, guys. So division we're going to talk about is AL Central. And the first team we're going to talk about is, as you can see in the background, the Minnesota Twins, man. I think they are going to be the team that makes the most, um, that's going to level up basically at the end of this season, essentially. You got a Brian Buxton, healthy Brian Buxton. You got a healthy Royce Lewis, Max Kepler still. You still got Carlos Correa. Um, got Willie Castro, Kyle Farmer. Like they got some veteran, sturdy guys that can definitely. I mean, this division, AL Central, and pretty much both divisions, honestly, AL and NL Centrals. It's a grind. I think these four teams, Twins, Tigers, Guardians, Royals, any of these teams, in my honest opinion, can win. I don't see the White Sox win, which we'll get to in a moment, obviously, but it's going to be really, really tight because I think, I think in my opinion, the Twins have the better staff, um, and even bullpen, in my opinion. I mean, the Guardians might just because of Clase, but I mean that's a lot of right for one guy. Um, that's probably the edge on why I have them as the number one team. But this division, man, is going to be really, really, really close. Um, so the Tigers and why I have them as the second team. Obviously, they let go of Eduardo Rodriguez, but they do sign a Kenta Maeda coming from the Minnesota Twins. So he's gonna have that veteran presence, excuse me. But I think the real signing is Jack Flaherty. If Jack Flaherty can get to the early St. Louis Cardinal days, he can, create some havoc for the rest of the AL Central. You got Screwball. Screwball's going to do his thing still, and I think the lineup is starting to look better as these young guys improve. Right, you got Spencer Torkelson, you got Riley Green, you got Parker Meadows. You got a Kerry Carpenter. You add in a Mark Canna. You sign a Gio Urshela. You still have Javier Baez, so we'll see what's going on with there, right? Um, but aside from him, man, they got some good young pieces, some good veterans to mold together. They have a good underrated manager, in my opinion, right? Regardless of his affiliation with the Astros at the time and whatnot. He's a good manager. So I do think we're going to see a level up with the Tigers, and it's going to be cool to see. So the Guardians, why I have them as the third spot, man, and honestly, they just didn't make much moves, right? You let all your free agents go basically, except for Syndergaard, which I think Syndergaard's just doing his own thing right now. Um, and I'm concerned where we're going to see the offense in this lineup when you don't look at Jose Ramirez. Obviously, Stephen Kwan, very respectable. Andres Jimenez, very respectable. Josh Naylor, respectable. Ramon Laureano. I mean, they got some couple of respectable dudes. I guess my thing is I want to start seeing some more youth. When are we going to see a Kyle Manzardo? You trade for him right from Tampa Bay, so I mean, let's start seeing some of these young guys come into play for you guys. I think that would be cool. And then the rotation, it's actually not too bad. I mean, you got Shane Bieber who's still 28, about to be 29. You got McKenzie, you got Bibby. So McKenzie and Bibby can take another step up. I think that will be huge for the Guardians to even probably take a number 2 spot, number 1 spot. I just don't know if Shane Bieber can go another edge, so that's where I'm kind of leaning on the McKenzies, the BB, and even the Logan Allen. He's a lefty, but let's start, um, taking that level up. And obviously, you still got Klose. So if you could, right, get the lead, I mean, Klose is going to do some cool stuff for you guys, as we know. And then the last team that I think that can definitely take the first spot is the Royals. Even though I do have them as the fourth spot, I think youth is a big thing in MLB. They've been pretty bad for good spots, and I just think as these young guys continue to uh, mature and grow and all that, I think we're going to see some crazy stuff. So you got MJ Melendez, you got a Bobby Witt, you got a Vinny, you got a Salvador, right? We got a Hunter Renfro from the free agency. You got an Adam Frazier on the bench, a Garrett Hampson on the bench. The question is the starting rotation. Uh, Really, just the pitching staff as a whole. But I mean, they got some they got some veteran guys, right? You got Michael Walker, you got Seth Lugo, Brady Singer is still trying to find himself. First rounder from 18, and Jordan Lyles you got from the free agency. Um, these they don't have the name, but with this division, it's going to be a grind, like I've been saying, and so like you just need to play sound baseball, and the Royals have been. I mean, kind of like they're very homegrown, and that's kind of how they approach things. And I think they're finally going to take that step up. I hope to at least people can kind of look at them as like, okay, we're starting to see something, right? I think people are still potentially looking for that. And then lastly, White Sox. I mean, I think this is a clear favorite to be coming in last. You don't really sign any of your free agents. I mean, that's been a theme, obviously, for most of these teams in the Central. You even traded Dylan Cease, right? So, obviously, you acquired some young pieces. I don't know if those young pieces are going to play right away, right? Rotation-wise, you still got a Garrett Crochet, Eric Fetty, shout out to him. You got Michael Soraka, Chris Flex. So, you got some guys that didn't have great stints at their first places and are looking for a change of scenery, right? So that is a good plus. I just concerned with the bullpen. Really, only see is Kopech and the rest are Tim Hill. Tim Hill's a pretty solid guy, so I think those two are definitely going to need to be on their A game basically every chance they can to let the White Sox win games. So um, let's see. We'll see how this team looks because there was a lot of things coming out last year with this team about um, the locker room and this and that. So I wonder how this team's going to look. Really, the first month. I think that'll really tell you guys how this season's going to look, in my opinion. All right. Lastly, for the American League, we're going to talk about is the AL West, and you guessed it. The Astros are the number one team that I predict, and it really just falls on what they have and what they acquired. So they didn't really lose a lot. They extended Jose Altuve even, and they acquire, a Josh Hader. So you bring in a Josh Hader with Ryan Presley, a Brian Abreu, a Montero, those guys. I mean, it's going to be pretty. The bullpen is going to be pretty nasty, and I don't think. I mean, that's kind of what they want. They want except for Valdez, right? They want these other starters to go 5 innings and let the bullpen do the work, basically. Um, they're not Houston's not isn't looking for two to four guys that can throw 7 innings plus. I mean, that's really just Valdez, and then everyone just kind of falls in place. And then this lineup, I mean, they continue to make some moves and stuff, right? So pretty much they um, didn't make any signings on the just really on the depth piece in the bench. So you added a Victor Garantino, right? You have the John Singleton from earlier. Um, So yeah, I mean the lineup's still intact. Jose Abreu, Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman, Jordan, Altuve, a Pena, a McCormick. I mean they got a lot of dudes, and so that's essentially why still picked them as the top team. The same team. You add another stud in that bullpen, and it's gonna be hard to beat them. So second team, right, is the Rangers. They could easily, obviously, be the first team, and really, I think the Mariners as well, right? Just like last year, it's going to be a very tight race for these teams, and for the Rangers in particular. I think for them to get to that hump, in my honest opinion, go and sign Jordan Montgomery as we speak right now. He is still a free agent, which is insane. Go re-sign him. You need him, in my opinion, especially with a Degrom, especially with a Scherzer. Right, you have those two guys. Um, Out for an extended period of time. So when you only have a Evaldi basically, and the rest of the guys I have no faith in, that concerns me. And honestly, even diving into this still. I wonder why I have them as second spot. But I think this offense, led by um, led by Seager, which Seager is actually going to be a little banged up as well. He's got the sports hernia surgery, so he should be back by opening day, if not soon. But you got Evan Carter, who's young. You got a Marcus Simeon. You're most likely going to bring up a Wyatt Langford. You got a Jared Walsh, who's I think an underrated lefty bat. Jonah Heim, Josh Jung, Adolis Garcia. Like, we're gonna see the magic that we saw in the playoff run, and again, you add a Wyatt Langford. Oof, I mean that's pretty crazy stuff, man. That um, where the Rangers at, they just literally turn it around and can just have these young guys come up and ball out. So I think at the end of the day, the Rangers offense will be the reason why they are at the top of this division, at least two. And then the Mariners, like I said, they could be the first team to you know to be the top team, and it falls on really Julio Rodriguez, right? You add in a Jorge Polanco, I think that'll be a good move. A Mitch Garver, that's a good signing as well. You bring back a Mitch Haniger, so you got the Mitch brothers doing their thing. So I think really those three moves right there are going to level up this offense. And then you got a Luis Castillo, you got a Logan Gilbert, you got a George Kirby, right? Those three guys are your studs. Bryce Miller's no slouch. And then in the bullpen, you add a Ryan Stanek from Houston. You have the Andres Munoz still from the trade a couple years ago. You have another pieces, right? Lefties and righties. So uh, this team is definitely leveled up, in my opinion, from last year. They have the same roster to a degree, but then you add, I mean, those bats that they added, Jorge Polanco, Mitch Garver, and Mitch Haniger. I think those will go a long way, in my opinion. They could definitely compete for the best offense in this division with the Rangers and the Astros. Man, it's going to be great to see. And then the next one is the Angels. So the Angels, obviously, right, with the 4 team here. You lose a Shohei Ohtani, right? You lose a Gio Urshela. You pretty much are losing a lot of these guys that you had as free agents. You really only have a Mike Trout. You got a Rendon who doesn't really want to play a lot. Taylor Ward. So I think you need to level up from the Mickey Moniak. I think that will help a lot. I don't know what I'm anticipating from this rotation. Even the bullpen, I am, concerned. They definitely added pieces, right? You added a Hunter Strickland, you added a Jose Scenario, Adam Simber, Luis Garcia. So they definitely saw what they needed to do, and they improved. So hopefully these veterans can give this Angels a leg up with the A's at least. And then lastly for the AL West, the A's, right? They're going to finish last. It's the A's. They unfortunately, just are not where they're at compared to other ball clubs. They have a lot going on. Even outside the clubhouse and the field, right? What's going on with the Las Vegas and are they moving? Are they not moving? So I just hope the best for them, man, and just go play and have fun. I think at the end of the day, try to ignore the noise and just go play the game that we love to play. Uh, so that will conclude American League. We're going to take a quick break, guys, and we'll get into the National League. Hello, everyone. Your host here, Gunner, and wanted to quickly say thank you for the continued support that you guys bring to this channel. If you haven't yet, please go subscribe to the channel as you will get notified for future videos, and it will be a huge plus for myself. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Okay, welcome back, guys, to our MLB Division prediction video, and we're going to talk about the National League. Hopefully, this section is a tad quicker than the first part, but I hope you enjoyed the American League version as I did. But let's get into the NL East, and you guessed it, the first team is going to be the Braves that we're going to be talking about as my top team. And you ask why, right? I mean, it's the Braves, man. You. Oops, sorry. Um, I mean, you got Acuna, right? You got an Ozzy Albies, you got an Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Michael Harris, Sean Murphy. You trade a Jared Kennewick, so Jared Kennewick can kind of get back to what people had thought about him. I think that's going to be a huge pickup, especially for the guys who they traded are both got Tommy John, so it's like they're not even part of the system. You add in a Chris Sale, which I think that was a very underrated move as well. I mean, if he can kind of get to his healthy self to a degree, I mean, that's a huge pickup with the Charlie Moore and a Max Fried, a Spencer Strider. The bullpen is still that bullpen that we know of. And I just think, the Braves are, one of the few, clubs that are just taken to a whole level, right? The Dodgers, the Braves. I just feel like they're kind of right now in their own, space, um, in terms of just doing their thing. But the next team that can definitely contend for that top spot is the Phillies. You resign Aaron Nola is the biggest piece, and then you start, letting your young guys kind of build up. You still got your Schwarber, you got your Trey Turner, you move Harper to first base, you got Rio Muto, you got Bryson Stott. Marsh is going to be up there as well. You add a Whit Merrifield, which would be a good piece, I think. Him and Turner can definitely create some havoc on the base pass. And then, right, you still got Aaron Nola, like I mentioned, and Zach Wheeler, who you extended as well. You got your Suarez, you got your Tyjon Walker bullpen. You got some flamethrowers: Jose Alvarado, Soto, Sarah Anthony Dominguez, Spencer Turnbull. He could definitely potentially be the fifth starter. So I mean, like, they have options, and I think um, they're definitely in a good spot compared to the other teams below them to compete for the top spot. And that next thing that we're going to be talking about is the Mets. I do wonder where the Mets are going. I think we kind of understand now is that the owner is not going to spend every money that he has every year. He's going to let the organization do their scout and do their process and kind of build within. It seems like, and so um, I wonder what this team is going to look like, especially on the rotation wise. I mean, obviously you got Jose Quintana, you got Luis Severino, Sean Manea, but you have no Senge, Kodai Senge. So, uh, what's going to happen with that? It would be nice if you had a Ronnie Mercerio, but he's hurt. They definitely could find a spot for them. Just the 1 through 6 ish uh, is not bad. If they continue to let some of these young guys play and just let them do the thing, like a Brett Beatty, um, maybe he can give them an added boost. And so after them is the Marlins. I think the Marlins can compete with that third spot, in my opinion, just because it is the. I feel like the Marlins are slowly becoming like the Tampa Bay of the NL East, right? It doesn't don't care, who leaves, who comes. I feel like they have, the pieces and the analytics in place to really do some magic. So you got Luis Arias. You bring in a Josh Bell, obviously. You bring in a Tim Anderson, which would be a good piece. Jazz is Jazz. Hopefully, you can quiet down a little bit. Um, the rotation is young. I think that's a good thing, but at the same time, it could hurt them. I do wonder where a Cabrera is going to be at. Edward Cabrera, he's a little banged up, right? And then you got the Sandy with the TJ. Also, a Yuri Perez, he had some elbow soreness. So I think if they definitely want to get to that third spot, even that second spot, you need an Edward Cabrera back. You need a Yuri Perez back. You definitely need those two guys back. JT Chargos would be good as well for the pen. But you have a Sixto Sanchez in that pen, which would be pretty nice. Obviously, he had some. Um, everyone thought he would probably be a starter. It is what it is. It just things don't happen that way. But I think he still add given give them an impact for this team. And then lastly, it's the Nationals. I think we kind of are all in agreement here, as everyone. I mean, they're young right now. They don't have the pieces, especially in the rotation. They're kind of letting they're definitely doing a rebuild and a restart. So I'm excited to see though a CJ Abrams. Hopefully Jesse Winker can kind of bounce back a little bit. Joey Gallo. I think that would be a good piece. Nick Senzel, that's a good piece right there. Um, so they definitely have some kind of underrated guys, and let's see if they consistently play as they play more every day than their past. But excited to see a step up with the Mackenzie Gore, a step up with Josiah Gray. So those are kind of things I'm looking in this team. I'm not expecting much from a division in the NL East standpoint. All right, NL Central, man, and just like I mentioned in the American League, I mean the AL Central, NL Central, these are going to be dogfights. So I do have the Cubs as the top team right now, and I think it kind of really falls on the Cody Bellinger signing them signing him and getting him again. I think that is I feel more confident with their offense than I think the others right now. You got an Ian Happ, a Suzuki, a Belly, a Morrow, a Swanson, a Bush. So you're welcome, Cubs fans. No, just Nico Horner. Um, their issue is going to be that rotation. So you had a Japanese pitcher, lefty, Shota Iminga. I'm most likely saying that last name wrong. So I'm interested to see what he's like. He's a little bit older on the age. They do have a couple young guys though that they're going to be letting them work through their ways, and so I think just in general this division isn't going to be as dominant on the pitching side. I think we're going to see a lot of runs within these games within each other. But the second team that can definitely compete, and it's really these top four teams. I mean, shoot, you could probably add the Pirates if you want, but I mean, it's going to be a very very tight race. And so the Cincinnati Reds, man, they got youth, man. They got youth. So they added a Heimer Candelario. So they added him this past year in free agency. You have the Will Benson trade from last year. He's still going to be there. Ellie De La Cruz. You got Spencer Steer. You got Encarnacion Strand. He's playing. Tyler Stevenson. You got Mike Ford. I think that'll be a good bench bat. Um, hopefully we can see now a level up though with a Hunter Green, a Graham Ashcraft, a Andrew Abbott, If these three guys can get that level up, I think that'd be huge. If they can get a TJ Friedel back, he's got the wrist fracture, obviously. If they can get a Nick Lodolo back, which he's got a stress reaction in his leg. So obviously that hurts. The Novaldi Marte does hurt them to a degree, but I think they have just so much young pieces, and especially in the middle infield and infield in general. They had to make some of these guys leave, unfortunately. Like a Nick Senzel, man. They would love probably to still have him, but they have these young guys who are willing to that are ready now. So um, I think again, I like this offense, and I think we're going to see some good pieces. Next team we're going to talk about is the Brewers. So the Brewers, they honestly made some good signings at the towards the end. So they don't have Corbin Burns, right? They don't have a Brendan Woodruff, but they do add a Wade Miley, right? They add in some veteran presence there. They add a Reese Hoskins. They add a Gary Sanchez. So from an offense standpoint, they have one of the top offenses in in this division, and like been mentioning, this is going to be an offense minded division. And just right now, all they have is a Freddie Peralta. I'm interested to see what we can see from a DJ Hall. He's part of the trade from with Corbin Burns. I think if DL Hall can show us some stuff, man, I think they can definitely move up quickly. Um, so they're still gonna have some guys in the pen. Definitely underrated guys. They're not household names because obviously Devin Williams is hurt with the stress fracture in the back, so he's gonna be out for 3 months. That's also a piece where I'm a little iffy on at the moment. But they have some pieces, especially on the offense, and they have some young guys that have the opportunity to step up and show us what they got. Next team we're going to talk about is St. Louis Cardinals, and this could definitely be a shocker, especially since they acquired a Sony Gray. But Sony Gray is actually has a hamstring, so it doesn't sound like how serious that's going to be. But you add him with the Kyle Gibson, the Lance Lynn, the Steven Matz, Miles Colas. They definitely have some, veteran uh, starters. Bullpen is still the same bullpen that we remember. You got the Helsley, you got Giovanni Gallegos. So they got some flamethrowers. I just wonder, what the rest of this offense is going to do. I mean, all I really see is a Paul Goldschmidt and Arenado. Nolan Gorman's good. Is Wilson Contreras still going to catch? Is it Jordan Walker going to go up and down like we were doing last year? I wonder on some of the decision making that goes on there. But they have a lot of veteran pieces, and so I think that can help them through the dog days. As things get kind of stale and whatnot. I just wonder though on the half. I think these veteran guys are getting towards the end of their career, and health becomes a problem. And then lastly, we're going to talk about here is the Pirates. Pirates, man, I think they're slowly moving in the right direction, guys. I think this is a slow build. I think they need to stay healthy. O'Neal Cruz, for example, he needs to stay healthy. If he stayed healthy last year, I'm not saying they would have made some noise in terms of the division, but at least people would be aware of this team more. You got a Henry Davis, you got a Jack Sawinski, Key Brian Hayes, Brian Reynolds. Right, you still got guys on this lineup that can make some moves, but I think all they really have right now is a Mitch Keller, and a David, you know, Bernard and a Colin Holderman and a Roldis Chapman. So um, that's my issue right now. Is really the rotation and some of the pieces in the bullpen, but the offense is going to be able to make some noise for them and keep them in these ball games most of the time. All right. Lastly, guys, we're going to talk about the NL West. And yes, you guessed it. The number one team could be biased is going to be the Dodgers for the NL West. And I just don't know what else to really, add on or say, right? You had a Shohei Otani, regardless if he's not pitching. I mean, the man drops 30 to 40, 50 bombs a season. You acquire a Jason Hayward again. You acquire a Teoscar Hernandez, which is somebody probably we did not think originally. I mean, so that just adding a Teoscar Hernandez just deepens that lineup, right? You got a Mookie, Shohei, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, Hernandez, Outman, and then Lux and Hayward. You still got your Enrique, Kike. You got your Chris Taylor still. Um, the key, obviously, and this is obviously for all teams, but is health, right? Greg Trinan and Broussard Gradwell for the bullpen is a little banged up right now. Some of the other starters, right? Walker Buehler, he's coming back from a TJ. Tony Gosselin's probably not going to be here for the season. Clayton Kershaw's coming back from his shoulder surgery. Dustin May's coming back from his flexor tendon. Emmett Sheenan's coming from forearm inflammation. So, they're they what I'm looking to say, I guess, is they have a lot of depth, and that's why they're the number one team. It's just if we continue to see these injuries, they definitely could not win this division because I do have some high regards for that second team. Not as much 3 and 4, but they still have talent to potentially take over the division, obviously. So we'll see. But you got a Glass now, you got a Yamamoto, you got a Paxton, you got a Bobby Miller. You got some guys, man, and this team is going to be fun to watch. But the team right below them and close, in my opinion, is the Arizona Diamondbacks. You re-signed a Lourdes Gurriel. You sign a Eduardo Rodriguez. Very underseason. So now you have a Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Rodriguez, and Brandon Pat. Those top 4, and even Ryan Nelson's no slouch. But those 4 are going to be your horsemen, right? You can get Randall Grichuk to come back, which I don't know how that's going to happen with this procedure. That will add some added depth in this lineup. But you still got your Corbin Carroll. You added Jock Peterson. You trade for Suarez, Eugenio Suarez from the Mariners. I think he is going to fit in that ballpark so much. He's probably going to drop 30 bombs. I don't know what it is, but he's going to drop bombs in that stadium. And the experience that they had this past year, and hopefully they continue to bring some of these guys up. A Blaze Alexander would be nice, right? You let him come up and just learn the MLB ways. So they have a chance to really compete for the 1 spot, and I think they're going to have full control of the number 2 spot. And the number 3 spot is going to be the Giants. I think the way they played the long game and how Scott Boras played the long game. They were able to take advantage and sign a Matt Chapman. They were able to sign a Blake Snell. So, you add those pieces with the Robbie Ray, with a Logan Webb. That's going to be pretty cool to see. Jordan Hicks is going to be a starter, so I'm interested to see how that looks. Their bullpen's the bullpen. They got the Roger brothers, Doval. I think I'm still wondering on the offense, though. We're going to see how Jung-Ho Lee looks. We're going to obviously they have the Soler. They have the Conforto from last year. Like I mentioned, Matt Chapman. So I just feel like they are, these next 2 teams, like they're 1 to 2 injuries away from really not competing for the top 2 spots. And the 4th team is the Padres. Like I just mentioned with the Giants, I think again this team is 1 to 2 spots away from really not competing with the whole team. But you added Dylan Cease. That's going to be a good piece. You have a Yu Darvish. You have a Joe Musgrove. You added Dylan Cease, like I mentioned. So that's good from a pitching standpoint. It's just this lineup. If you can silence Tatis, Machado, and Bogarts, it's pretty nothing in my honest opinion. So they definitely need the role players need to play above their average basically. And then lastly is the Rockies. I think this is all expected. The Rockies are just they're in a real slow rebuild. Obviously it's hard to develop pitchers given that your home stadium is in Colorado and you're going to be giving up runs and runs and runs. So hopefully a Cal Contrail can make some moves. Dakota Hudson can make some noise. But I like that they're starting the young guys, right? You're starting to see the Nolan Jones, obviously, right? You're starting to see the Tofar, the Brenton Doyle. So hopefully we can continue to see some of these young guys for the Rockies, and then they can just continue to, um, just continue to mature and grow as a team. But guys, that will conclude our overall MLB predictions. Uh, Apologies if it's a little bit longer than you anticipated. I definitely didn't expect this, but I enjoy talking through each team and my thoughts. But at the end of the day, man, it's predictions. It's just my opinion, and I'm definitely not expecting to be right. But let me know in the comments what you guys think is, what's right, what's wrong. What did I say that upsets you? But don't forget to like, don't forget to share, and don't forget to click on that subscribe button, guys. Enjoy your Wednesday, and we're almost here to open the day, boys. Peace.